Right everyone, so we've got so far with this piston idea of automating these pistons, and as you can see I have made this nice little contraption here. It's a piston, it doesn't have the O-ring on it yet. Now this is the motor I'm going to use. It's a really big bugger, and I use this on the Nautilus. It runs at 100 RPM. And what I did do was buy two sets of gears that I figured would be about right. So what I'm going to do right now is just double check that by looking at the width, and it's quite interesting what the outcome of that actually is, because what I discover is that the size of the motor and the size of the rod that's going to come out are critical in this. It all has to work together nicely. And the size of the motor is 37 mil. I want at least a 2 mil space between the rod as it comes out of the piston, and the rod itself is 6 mil. So that means across the centers I need 37, 38, that's 17 and a half. No, it's 18 and a half. Yep. I want another 2 mil, and then I want 3 mil to that center. So that is 23.5. Now let's look at these gears. They are in fact exactly 23.5. I can't believe that. That was a bit of luck. But now we're going to build the gearboxes. Alright, so these gearboxes, how are we going to do them? I'm going to use a bit of a build as you go technique, which is how I like to do things. I'm not going to design them completely straight away. But what I will do is I'll commit to using this plastic. It's really quite nice. It's the kind of stuff you get with chopping boards. It's 10 mil thick, and I'm going to use a piece of this, and I'm going to put on it a piece of brass, a brass plate, so that I can screw the two together and screw them apart. And that's simply going to be how I'm going to build my gearbox. Reason being, these little critters are really quite small. They're only quite inexpensive as well, but I think they're going to work really, really nicely. So this is the plan. Here's the tube, and there is my piece of 6 mil acrylic that runs in the tube, and that's all now nicely welded with that solvent. So that's really quite strong. I've got a nice little hole here in the middle, and my thought then is to put this piece of 10 mil plastic on here, have a piece of brass that sits on there that screws in, develop some screws that are going to run right through here to hold it all on. Then we're going to machine into this piece of plastic a slot that's going to hold the gear. Once we've done that, we're going to fasten the motor on down there onto the brass and so on. It's not going to be that hard. That's the basic principle. The process is going to be to take the plastic, put on the piece of brass, drill the center holes where the piston is going to go and where the motor is going to go, and then we'll start to machine the plastic in the lathe and get all this right. So that'll be the starting point. So as I said, I like to work things out as I go. Here is the main driver cog that sits in here. I think I need a piece of plastic around about this size, about 50 millimeters by 45. This is the center of the small cog, just goes onto here. And this whopping big motor fits onto there, and that's where it finishes. So in fact I've got room to put it all together. That's looking pretty good, so I need a piece of plastic of that size. I've made it square so I can put it in the lathe and work on it. That's a very important component. So let's go ahead. So this is the basic plastic. This is the brass side that's going to be the other half of the gearbox, hold everything in. This is the main gear, this is the pinion gear, probably will sit like that. I want this to be as much as it can be right in the center, because it's going to, the pulling and the pushing is going to be, I want that to be distributed over the full size of this, of the actual base or the partition. So where these screws go to hold this little thing together is not that important really. So I figure I want one about there, and then one about here, and one about here. So I'm going to have 4 screws that are going to hold these plates together. Let's do that. So I'm drilling them through at tapping size, and now just opening this out to take the full size. So what I've done, I've just drilled the 2 holes. This is for the screw and that's for the pilot. I've actually marked all of these so I know which is which, because everything's going to be unique. Remember, this is scratch building. Nothing is the same. Nothing's perfectly interchangeable. At least not the way I make them. So I live with that. And as a result, these are the kind of processes I go through. Now, pilot holes 1, 2, 3, drill them out, screw them in, and I've now got them together.